We thank Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala for the immense ajr and thawab that Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala has placed for us in this particular month. We thank Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala who has made the ibadah of Sawm only for Him. And it was done for no one else before and now, and it will be done for no one else in the future except for Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. فَإِنَّ اللَّهَ قَدْ قَالَ فِي حَدِيثٍ قُدْسِي, because Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala says in Hadith al-Qudsi, فَإِنَّ الصَّوْمَ لِي وَأَنَا أَجْزِي بِهِ. Sawm is only for me. In the past, all of these idols and all of these gods in the past, people used to stand in front of them. We stand in salah. People used to bow in front of them. People bow in salah. People used to make sujood in front of them. People make sujood in salah. People used to sacrifice in front of these idols. And we sacrifice. And so many other ibadah that are similar to the ibadah that we do in Islam. But there was one ibadah that was done for no one else except for Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. And it is Sawm. فَإِنَّهُ لِي وَأَنَا أَجْزِي بِهِ. From that perspective, Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala says, Sawm is only for me. Sawm is only for Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. So remember, when you fast, it has to be of a high quality. It has to be of a high quality. Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, from a different perspective, Sawm is so unique that it doesn't have any action. As a matter of fact, the ulama of fiqh says it's tarkul amal, meaning it is the leaving of action. You don't do anything. Right? A man and a woman can sit there and they can be in ibadah for Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, but it will be fasting. They won't be bowing, they won't be praying, they won't be reading Quran, they won't be giving sadaqah. These are actions that can be seen by the naked eye, and it is very quick for people to formulate ostentation within the heart. It's very easy to have riyah in the heart. Oh, I'm giving sadaqah so people can see. I'm praying in the masjid so people can see. I'm reading Quran so people can see. But if you fast, you can't show anybody. Huh? You can't show anybody. And then from that perspective, as-sawmu li wa ana ajzi bihi. And Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala says, wa ana ajzi bihi. What does that mean? It means Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, He Himself will compensate for this beautiful act. He's not going to put an angel in charge. He's not going to put any rusul in charge. He's going to make Himself in charge of giving reward to the sa'im himself. No one else. وَأَنَا أَجْزِي بِهِ. Sawm Ramadan is a unique month because Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala فُتِّحَتْ أَبْوَابُ الْجَنَّةِ. This hadith in Bukhari and Muslim. Allah opens the doors of the Jannah. What does this mean? We have 8 doors in the Jannah. 8 doors. And many people know that there is a door called Ar-Rayyan, and that Ar-Rayyan is only for the Sa'imeen. Now let us quickly look at the other doors before we come back to Ar-Rayyan. There is As-Salah, Kitab Babu Salah, wa du'iya min Babu Salah, and the people who prayed, and those who were praying profusely and were praying a lot. They were adding in the sunnahs and they were praying Iqamatul Salah in the masjid. The people were trying their best to make the salah count for them. Inna salata tanha anil fahsha'i wal munkar. That the salah has to bring about the fruits of preventing a person from fahsha, from evil and from munkar. Because every single action, it has an intention, it has that ability, that qudra, that thing that helps you to actually do it. We call it tawfiq, and then eventually it will have to give you fruits. Every action has to give you fruits. Okay? And the fruits of Sawm, of course, are Sawmu Junnah. Sawm is a preventative thing. It prevents you from all evil. Now, every single action has this particular thing of fruit. So, the Salah, the person who prays and prays profusely, Sunnah, Duha, and first and foremost, the Fara'id. First and foremost, the Fara'id. And Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala has made a special place for the fara'id salah. and that's the masajid. The masajid is only for fard. We are sunnah, even in the Hanafi madhab, should be prayed at home. Alaysa kadhalik? And it's only the afdaliyah of praying, congregational prayers like Taraweeh. It's sunnah to pray in the masjid, in the Hanafi madhab, in the Hanbali madhab, and in the Shafi'i madhab, and the Maliki madhab. The sunnah of the afdaliyah of Taraweeh is at home, not in the masjid. Allahu Akbar wa lillahi alhamd. But in the Hanafi madhab, in the Hanbali madhab, it is better to pray in the masjid. Allahu Akbar. So the salah, the person who prays salah will be called from the gate of salah. The person who gives sadaqah will be called from the door of sadaqah. That means the person who really gave sadaqah. Gave. And the person who did jihad, he will be called from the door of jihad. Meaning jihad with the tongue, jihad with his nafs, with his soul, and jihad with his money, and jihad with a pen. And we do find people like that. They wrote, against the batil, against the falsehood. They condemned it with the tongue. They condemned it in their action, and they fought against it. Umar Mukhtar, Shamil al-Dagestani, Uthman al-Fawdiyo, many great Sufis. So these are the people that will go from the doors. Then of course the other beautiful doors, Al-Qadi min al-Ghayth, the one who suppress the anger, and the one who pardons other people. That's also another door. And then we have a door called Ar-Rayyan. The door Ar-Rayyan is for people who fast properly. And properly, I mean here, not Jamaatul Muslimin, eating and drinking. To eat and to drink, is this a farad, or is it mubah, or is it haram? Quickly, it's mubah. It is permissible. Fast has not been instated or instructed to better us as mu'mineen to stay away from something that's mubah and that's it. But fasting has been instated to stay away from the haram and to establish the fara'id. Eating and drinking is only mubah. Check it. The last time we ate before Ramadan, nobody said it's a farad, I have to do it. Or it's haram if I don't do it. It's just mubah. The Sawm has been instated so that we can fulfill the fara'id and stay away from the muharramat. Hence, this brings me to the hadith that is very pivotal. And the hadith is in Bukhari. Man lam yada' قول الزور والعمل به فليس لله أن يدع فليس لله أن يدع شرابه وطعامه. A person who does not abstain from قول الزور, from bad speech, indecent talk, lying, speaking about the batil, lying to people, backbiting. The list is long, Jamaatul Muslimin. There's actually a special chapter in the Ihya Ulumuddin, beautiful chapter which I would encourage anybody and everybody to read, is to read this particular chapter because it lists all the muharramat, the evils of the tongue. وَالْعَمَلُ بِهِ, and acting upon the batil, acting upon that which is falsehood. Okay? Supporting the false and not standing with the truth. This is what the Sawm is there for. And there's a hadith, even though it's a hadith which is da'if, but it's in Tabarani. Whoever lies breaks his fast. Whoever gives qawla zur, false testimony, breaks his fast. Whoever looks at something with shahwa breaks his fast. Whoever commits ghiba breaks his fast. This hadith breaks his fast. Jamaatul Muslimin. Then it brings me to the hadith which is sahih, also in Muslim. Our Nabi Muhammad sallallahu alayhi wasallam was told about two women in the time of Rasulullah sallallahu alayhi wasallam. The qissa is very mashhur, very well known. These two women, they were struggling during their fast. They were struggling. And Rasul sallallahu alayhi wasallam was told about them, and they asked if they could eat. And Rasul sallallahu alayhi wasallam went and visited them. And then he said, bring me 2 jars, 2 buckets. Why 2 buckets? He said, bring me 2 buckets now. And they brought 2 buckets. And Rasul sallallahu alayhi wasallam said to the first one, qayyi'i, vomit in this bucket. And he said to the second, vomit in this bucket as well. And when she vomited, it was blood and lahm tariq, meaning fresh meat, came out from her stomach. And she filled the bucket up. And the second one did the same. And Rasul sallallahu alayhi wasallam said, these two, they have stayed away from that which Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala made halal for them, وَأَفْطَرَتَا, and they have eaten and broken the fast on that which Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala has made haram upon them. Meaning they were talking the whole time. Okay? So the tongue is a very important organ in the body. It's not so much the hands that Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala will question. It's not so much the feet that Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala will question. It's not so much the chest, but Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala will question the tongue. It's a very powerful organ that Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala created, and many people don't know this. And that is why Nabi Muhammad sallallahu alayhi wasallam says, whoever fasts in the month of Ramadan, ولا يصخب. It doesn't, there's 2 words. The other one is يرفث. ولا يرفث ولا يصخب. The one, yarfuth, means between a husband and wife there's conversations, right? And when they are intimate, these conversations take a different vernacular. Something that I and you would not speak in public in front of the kids or in front of anybody else. That is rafatha. وَلَا رَفَثَ وَلَا فُسُوقَ وَلَا جِدَالَ فِي الْحَجِّ. Even on Hajj, Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala says, لَا رَفَث. Don't speak these intimate things on Hajj. Control your tongue. Okay? This is how it should be done. Man la yarfuth wa la yaskhab. And don't make yaskhab. What is yaskhab? I love this particular word. Yaskhab means to speak aloud. In Ramadan, we need to tone it down a little bit. That is fasting, Jama'atul Muslimin. When you speak to somebody, you speak a little bit softer. Alright? Everything that you do is toned down a few notches. You walk slower. Alright? You do things bitta'anni, meaning you take your time. That is Ramadan. وَلَا يَصْخَبْ. And who doesn't do yaskhab, it doesn't speak these flirtatious, vernacular in his speech, Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala will give him the thawab and the ajr of entering through Bab al-Rayyan. Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala didn't really speak about leaving food and leaving drink. That's mubah. Allah doesn't want, He's not interested much in even though it's of the ahkam that you have to stay away from food and drink. It's a test. And this is where the sabr comes in. Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala teaches us sabr through that. But the main sabr and the main reason why, Ramadan has been instated upon us was to attain on taqwallah. How do you attain on to taqwallah? By leaving off food and drink? No. By staying away from the haram, or the tongue, and the food, the hands, and the feet, and the eyes, and the ears. and the heart. Allahu Akbar. Yaskhab, to speak very, delicately and being aware of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. And that is taqwallah. When the Sahaba ridwanullah alayhim, when the Tabi'in met the Sahaba, they said, these are very strange people. When the Tabi'in met the Sahaba, they said, these are very strange people. You want to know why? Sayyidina Umar radiyallahu ta'ala anhu said, when the Quran was coming down upon our Nabi Muhammad sallallahu alayhi wa sallam, we as husband and wife, we used to watch what we say to one another. We spoke respectfully. We were careful as to how we uttered our words, the phrases we used in the house, behind closed doors. And when our Nabi Muhammad sallallahu alayhi wa sallam passed away, we spoke. We said whatever we want to. Why? Because it's the wahi that was coming down upon our Nabi. How many times were the Sahaba censured in the house behind closed doors? Our Nabi didn't know, but the wahi came down upon them. They were so cautious. Imagine for 10 years, for 23 years, they had to be cautious what they say. Watch what they utter, because Allah watched them. Umar said, after the wahi, after our Nabi passed away, we spoke whatever we wanted to. That adab, the Tabi'in saw that adab. They cautioned, as if the wahi is still around. Yes, they spoke, but they were still cautious. The Tabi'in didn't get that. They were born in a time when there was no wahi. They could say whatever they wanted to say in the house. The month of Ramadan is bringing that back in. Man la, Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala says in Hadith al-Qudsi as well, Man lam yarfuth wa lam yaskhab, who does not speak whatever they want on the tongue, and they are not loud. Speaking softly. Being cautious to what you say. Sayyidina Imam al-Shafi was like this. He understood these terms. He said, I never said something unless I gave it a minute before I said it. Like I said before, Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala has 8 doors in the Jannah. One of them is Ar-Rayyan. And every single door has a name on it. The door of Salah, the door of Jihad, the door of Zakah, the door of Al-Kadhimin al-Ghayb, the door of being obedient to the parents. And those who were, who were doing jihad in this, they were really working hard in these avenues. They will be called from that door. So the person who prayed correctly, the person who made sure that the prayer is on time, the person who was at hudurul qalb, meaning presenceness of heart with Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala in the salah, he will be called from that door. And there's jihad, the person who did jihad. He will be called through jihad. The person who gave sadaqah continuously, he will be called. And then the person, he will be called from the door of zakah and sadaqah. And then there's the person who will be called from the door of siyam. Don't just think, I'll just stay away from food and drink, and Allah will call me from the door of Rayyan. Huh? No. Food and drink and, suppress my sexual desires, Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala will call me from the door of Rayyan. It doesn't work like that, Habibi. It has to do, it's got to do with staying away from the muharramat and perfecting the fara'il. Now, this is where taqwallah lies. Okay? Taqwallah actually lies in actually perfecting your fara'il and staying away from the muharramat. That is taqwallah. Not staying away from the mubahat. Okay? Eating and drinking was just, for those who just came, eating and drinking is mubah, isn't it? It's permissible. I can eat or eat or not to eat. Isn't it folly to move that plate and make it room for more? That's the words of Garfield. But anyway, You can eat or not eat, it doesn't matter. Drink or not to drink. Fulfill your desires, sexual desires, or not with the family. That is entirely up to you. Nobody forces you to do it. But Sawm, the month of Ramadan, has been instated to re-establish taqwa Allah within the heart of a mu'min. And taqwa Allah is that particular element that teaches a person that is haram, habibi, you can't do it. That is fard, you have to do it. It doesn't really speak about the mubahat, the things is mubah. Though, taqwa Allah, if you want to take it up another notch, and like the Sahaba used to take it up another notch, and the Tabi'een and the Salihin, then you stay away from the mubahat. The second plate of lasagna, am I going to take it? Yes or no? No, I'm going to leave it aside. Okay? Desserts, it's mubah to have it. I can have it. That is taking your taqwa Allah another notch higher. Alright? That extra decor that I want to apply into the house. These are all mubahat. The new shower that you can do it. But if you take the money and you give it to a masjid, give it to the poor, it is much greater in the sight of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala than the new kitchen, in the new bathroom, the second plate of lasagna. These are mubahat, habibis. So, Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala during this month wants us to focus on that which we are doing that is haram. Check it, check yourself. Alright? Check yourself, let us do, self-assessment, not only with our incomes, but self-assessment with our a'mal. This is haram. I have a habit of ghibaring, I've got a habit of lying, I've got a habit of whatever the case may be. Let me work on it. Let me try to erase it. Now, the hadith is very clear of our Nabi Muhammad sallallahu alayhi wa sallam. Man lam ya'mal عملا من لم يدع قول الزور والعمل به فليس لله في أن يدع شرابه وطعامه. It's a hadith in Bukhari, and it's a key hadith in the bab of Sawm. Whosoever does not leave off qawl az-zur, meaning despicable, indecent, lying, speaking about the false. If you don't put that aside, there's no need for Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, and then you leaving off your food and your drink. There's no need, because Allah wants that. Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala wants that to be abstained from. Okay, wal amalu bihi, and doing the actions, doing the actions of the people of falsehood. Then there's no need for Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala and one leaving away of his drinking and his and his eating. Okay? Jama'atul Muslimin. The caution about the tongue is so frequently mentioned in the chapter of Sawm. So frequently. Man lam yarfuth wa lam yaskhab. Man lam ya'mal wa lam yada' qawl az-zur. All of these words are all attributed to the tongue. The tongue is a very important element, right? And there's a great reason why. Because if you put in place of, bad speech, indecent language, lying, false witness, and the tongue has got loads of topics that we need to try to avoid, evils that we need to try to avoid. Okay? And the most common one of them, you will be really surprised. The most common evil of them all, you will be very surprised. And that is kathratul kalam, excess of speech. Speaking too much. If a person can say something in 10 words, and somebody says it in 15 words, the extra 5 words is called excess of speech. Or if you can say something in 3 words, but you say it in 5 words, that extra 2 words is excess of speech according to the definition of the Sharia. So there's no need to fill our times. Why? That's one thing. That's one particular speech that we need to watch out for. There's another speech that is second most common, and that's al-khawdu fil batil. To speak about matters that is not of our concern. Speaking about matters that's not of our concern. You know, that's a hadith sahih in Bukhari and Muslim. Nabi Muhammad sallallahu alayhi wa sallam said, "Min husni islamil mar," the good character of a man is to speak about matters that is not of his that is only of his concern. The good character of a man is only to speak about that which concerns him only. And what is not of our concern? Oh, you know, the roadworks that they have in Bradford, these are not my concern. Is it going to get you any closer to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala? Alright? Speaking about the Premier League, speaking about issues that really doesn't matter to me as a Muslim, or it's not going to get me any closer to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. And there are so many topics that we talk about. And we go on for hours and for hours on these topics, right? And we need to really tone it down a little bit. It's the month of Ramadan, and that is what Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala wants from us. Imam Ghazali in final says, there is a person who I give him the choice to choose between a rock and between gold. Okay? Rock and gold. And I explained to him, rock is just ordinary rock, and these gold, big nuggets or slabs, they are worth hundreds of thousands. Take that, okay? You'll be better off. Alright? So in our speech, we have been given the choice between rock and gold. We have been given a choice. So Allah subhanahu our Nabi Muhammad sallallahu alayhi wa alihi wa sallam says, whoever says La ilaha illallah Muhammadur Rasulullah, a tree is built for him in the Jannah. The trunk of the tree is made up of solid gold, as it came in hadith. Okay? Whoever says Subhanallah wa bihamdihi, a vineyard has been built for him. When our Nabi met our Khalilullah, the night of Mi'raj, Khalilullah said to our Nabi Muhammad sallallahu alayhi wa sallam, these are one of the greatest meetings that this earth and this universe has ever witnessed. The greatest meetings, the greatest two men meeting up. Our Nabi and Sayyidina Ibrahim Khalil in the Samawat on the night of Mi'raj. What did he say to our Nabi Muhammad sallallahu alayhi wa sallam? He said, give my salams to your ummah, O Muhammad. Sallallahu alayhi wa sallam. And tell them, innal jannata qay'an. Qay'an meaning it is ready to plant in it. The earth is, the soil is it's fruitful. It's ready. And the Nabi Muhammad sallallahu alayhi wa sallam, what shall they plant in it? He said, La hawla wa la quwwata illa billahi al-ali al-azim. These are the trees of the Jannah. Now, look at the value of La hawla wa la quwwata illa billahi al-ali al-azim in comparison to our normal day-to-day talk. So we say, Ya Habibi, this is rocks, leave that alone. Take La hawla wa la quwwata, it's gold. This is much worth in the sight of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala than this. Right? Now, what do? We take the rock and say, we want to talk about the Premier League in the month of Ramadan. We want to talk about cars. We want to talk about the renovations. We want to talk about this and that one's problems and this one's problems in the month of Ramadan. Yet the gold is sitting there. La hawla wa la quwwata illa billah. Qira'atul Quran, dhikrullah, tahmeed, takbir. All of this are gold sitting there for us to take and plant in the Jannah for ourselves. Now, and the angels are building our house, by the way, with golden bricks and silver bricks, as we know. Our Nabi told us about that. And Imam Ahmad ibn Hanbal used to say to his students, Help the angels build your house in the Jannah. They said, how? Go make dhikrullah. Because the more you make dhikrullah, then they work. They want to get paid. The angels wants to get paid. How are they getting paid? By us making dhikrullah. So if they're just sitting there, that means you are not making dhikrullah. Jamaatul Muslimin, the month of Ramadan is filled with khayrat. We ask Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala to wet our tongues with the dhikr of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. It is a month filled with rehabilitating the tongue, the vernacular that we use, the vocabulary that we use. This is the month of rehabilitating our entire bodies. Okay? Drinking and eating is mubah. To leave that alone is easy. It's mubah. But what we need to leave alone is the muharramat. What we need to work on is the fara'id. And this is what taqwa means. Okay? Walhamdulillah Rabbil Alameen. Inshallah, we ask Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala grant us a fruitful Ramadan, a Ramadan filled with ajr and thawab, jazeel, and plenty of it. Walhamdulillah Rabbil Alameen.
Everyone's inshallah.